In the Impact segment tonight, the Navy Yard killer, Aaron Alexis, apparently played violent video games almost every night, according to his friends. This week, a violent video game called Grand Theft Auto was released to the public. $800 million in one day was spent on this game. And part of the attraction of the game are torture scenes where the player participates in the torture. Joining us now from Philadelphia, Dr. Chuck Williams, who teaches psychology at Drexel University. So you study these violent video games. What's your conclusion, Doctor?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on again, Bill. Look, the research is pretty clear. We have data to show that there is some negative impact from having people consistently consume violent media, both kids and adults. We have longitudinal studies that go back decades. For example, we have watched kids when they were 8 or 9 years old who, for example, watched TV shows like The Dukes of Hazzard. And then we followed them through adulthood, middle age, and we saw, for example, the kids who watched more TV shows like that, when they became adults, they had more run-ins with the law, for example. So the data has been pretty strong, and it's been pretty clear for a number of years.
Well, what about the video game component? Is that more intense than television shows like The Dukes of Hazzard, which to me was a mindless, harmless program? So I can't contradict the study, but I can tell you, as a kid, I watched the Westerns and the Army shows and those kinds of things, and maybe it affected me, but I don't have a record. I've never been arrested. I've never punched anybody, so it's hard for me to buy that. But I want to know about these very intense video games because I think it's a different ball game now.
You're absolutely right. What people have to realize is that unlike watching a television show, unlike watching a movie, what happens is you're actually engaging in simulated acts of violence. You're learning how to be violent. People also have to remember that some of the same technology that we may find in violent video games, we use to train Navy SEALs, for example, and law enforcement officers. They use the same type of technology to go through simulated exercises to rescue hostages or to take down people like bin Laden. So people have to understand that the difference between, say, a TV show and a video game is that with a TV show, you're not acting it out, but with a video game, not only are you acting it out, Bill, but you're being rewarded for being violent.
All right, and you're involved. But isn't it true that a schizophrenic personality, a psychotic personality, maybe this does light a fuse for those people? But what about the 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds who are playing it? Are they going to become violent just by playing Grand Auto Theft and Halo and these games?
Yes. In fact, if you can remember,
you think these kids are going to become violent?
Of course.
Really?
Think back when you were younger. If you can think back that far, Bill. I can think back when I was younger. I would watch wrestling, right? And what would I do? In between the commercials, I would play SmackDown with my brothers and even my sister.
You didn't go out, though, and try to dislocate somebody's shoulder like Killer Kowalski.
No, but I was still violent. My parents came home. You got to get separated.
It's almost the nature of being a little boy, though. It's almost like a bear cub. You're going to do that kind of thing. But really, I'm upset. I'm very interested in this. So because I know a lot of little kids who are playing these games. They're nice little kids, and they're not going out and hurting anyone now. So
see, that's not true, Bill. They are hurting. They're hurting their brothers and sisters. They're hurting themselves, but it's not serious. Don't get me wrong. If kids watch very hyperactive, intense play, whether it's a video game, a movie, or a TV show, based upon research, they are likely to act that out in play, which can be violent. The difference here is that if there are mental health impairments, it can push them over the edge.
There's no doubt about that.
I'm not saying it can definitely happen, but it can.
All right, Doctor, very provocative. We appreciate you coming on tonight. Plenty more ahead as the Factor moves along this evening.